Well, hello there, everyone. It's great to be with you. This is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Thanks so much for stopping in today. If you have been here many times before, I want to take the opportunity to say thank you and welcome back. If you're new here today, well, I want to say welcome and thanks for joining, and I hope you will come many, many times. All right, guys, we have a great master topic for this week. Before we get started, I do want to invite you to go grab yourself something, a snack, water, beverage. Like I have my RO and lemon, and it is absolutely delicious. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, to check out believemeachieve.com. There's lots more resources there, including we have short form, long form content, articles, reels, and now we have the new book. Yes. Drain to Driven is there. All the information, how you can get it, as well as the new launch recently of jcmacademy.com. So you can check that out as well. Lots of great information there. So without any further ado, guys, let's kick this show off. All right, everyone. So this is Inspirations for Your Life. And the granular topic for today is why people delay. Why people delay. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, it is series uh 5, show 17, episode number 5. The master topic for the week is how people actually take control of their life direction. Yeah, something a lot of people seem to not want to talk about. Hey everyone, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, engineer, marketing specialist, video producer, podcast host, coach, keynote speaker, graduate student, passionate lifelong learner, and now a published author. And it's my privilege and pleasure to be with you here today. So today's episode is all about something that does not look dramatic on the surface, but quietly controls everything mysteriously underneath. Delay, not failure, not lack of ability, but hesitation at the moment of execution. Because most people do not lose direction all at once. They lose it through delay. Uncertainty slows decisions. Unclear direction reduces immediate action and creates hesitation before movement begins. Lack of clarity creates hesitation. When the path is undefined, execution is postponed. Too many options cause paralysis. Excessive choice reduces focus and slows commitment, fear, and delays movement. Perceived risk outweighs immediate progress. Delay feels safe. Inaction provides temporary emotional comfort. Waiting lowers risk perception. Stillness feels safer than forward motion. Overthinking replaces action. Analysis becomes a substitute for execution. Confusion blocks progress. Unclear thinking prevents consistent movement. And no urgency equals no movement without pressure and action. It does not initiate. Delay compounds over time, guys. Each moment of hesitation strengthens resistance. And I think these are important things for us to realize and for maybe us to understand because they are definitely they're definitely very 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 important, guys. Yes, they're important. So like I said, uncertainty slows our decisions, and lack of clarity creates hesitation. Too many options create the paralysis, and fear delays movement. Delays often feel safe, but the inaction provides the temporary emotional support that many people need. Waiting lowers the risk perception, guys. That's what it is. It's a risk perception. It's not a win, it's a risk perception. And stillness feels safe, at least if we're talking about moving forward. It feels comfortable. And many people don't want to venture out into things that are not comfortable. Unfortunately, guys, they just want to venture to things that are going to be easy, right? Things that are going to be easy. And I think that's a very interesting thing for a lot of people to, understand. that it's about that whole concept. It's about that whole concept. So if we can understand this for, let's say, just a moment, our life can pivot, it can shift. Number 7, guys, overthinking replaces action. Analysis becomes a substitute for execution. Many people want to just keep analyzing things day in and day out, but they never really get anywhere. Okay. They just complain. So they just go through this paralysis moment, a moment that maybe you didn't think was possible, and maybe other people didn't think was possible. But I want to tell you something. This moment is something that can define you your entire life, not just one time. Confusion blocks progress, guys. Unclear thinking prevents consistent movement. And, it's hard for people to identify this because they're like, I never had this problem before. Well, maybe you weren't growing in that manner before, like you are now. Maybe, okay, maybe that's the whole issue. I'm just saying, maybe. And that could be a very big maybe, guys. Number 8, confusion blocks progress. Unclear thinking prevents consistent movement. We can get gridlocked anytime. But the key is knowing, how do we get out of gridlock? How do we move forward? I think those are hard things for a lot of people to realize. See, everybody thinks that everyone has the answers, but the truth of the matter is, everyone doesn't have the answers. But they figure it out. And the people that have the answers have been through a similar situation. So they can be, well, very useful knowledge mentors for you. Number 9, no urgency equals no movement. Without pressure, action does not initiate. Let me see if I can give you an example. We had a situation a few days ago where this happens, once in a while, not a lot, where we had somebody that was, severely behind on their payments to our tech company. And by severely behind, I mean we had some bills that were past 90 days. Even though the 90-day bill was not very high, it still was a problem. So one of our team members reached out and they said it was hard to pay the bill. They had lost their login. We resent it to them. And that was several weeks ago. Then we reached out and we're like, we can't keep reaching out saying to ourselves, we can't do that. So we reached out one more time, and this is where we were. And we made a decision that if we didn't receive payment today, if payment wasn't initiated in one of our processing systems, by the end of close of business today, we're putting them on a support hold. Now, we weren't stopping all services like a lot of companies will do. We put them on a support hold. And just like we suspected, they reached out and they had a problem. Rude. Also did not communicate to the other staff members that they were on any type of hold. Just told them that, we need to talk to basically X, to hear from that person. And that was a day or so ago. So today they reached out with a question. Very polite, listened to it and said, be happy to follow up with you on that. But I need to speak with such and such first. And I think that moment, because, we didn't hear anything for a few days that the message had gone through. Now that this person was the one that we'd said, hey, could you tell such and such? And now they said to me, just want to let you know that I did tell such and such your message. And I knew that when they did that they were going to then reach out with a question. That's very polite, courteous. Said, I'm happy to help you with that and follow up after I get to speak with such and such. And then the message was, I will let that person know. something happened, an urgency transpired. See, no urgency equals no movement. Without pressure, action does not initiate. So, what happened in that situation is we put them on a support hold. When we did that, I mean, the systems were still running, but if they had a question or a problem, they were on a support hold. And you know what happened a few hours after that transpired once they realized that they were on some type of a hold? We didn't say the word hold, but they knew when we said we had to speak with someone first. Within a few hours, we actually got a payment. Now, it wasn't full payment, but it was a payment. And so when we talk about urgency, no urgency equals no movement. So there became an urgency once they realized that they had no more support. We weren't nasty about it. We weren't rude. We weren't obnoxious. We weren't demeaning. We weren't harassing. We just stopped support. We didn't stop services because that would be wrong. We didn't do that. Number 10, guys, delay compounds over time. See, each moment of hesitation strengthens more resistance. When you hesitate once, then you'll hesitate again and again. And before you know it, it becomes this big pattern. And the pattern actually affects, well, your trajectory of moving forward, your attitude, and your level of success. Time increases resistance. Like I said, the longer you wait, the harder action feels. Number 12, waiting makes it harder. Delay builds psychological weight around decisions. You know what else builds psychological weight? Silence. Silence. That's pretty cool. Silence. Silence builds this type of weight, guys. Silence builds this type of weight. Number 13, guys, action creates clarity. Movement reveals answers thinking alone cannot provide. So although movement is good and action does create the clarity, okay, movement gets the answers that thinking alone can't. So if you're trying to solve something and you're like, oh, I'll think about it for a while, but you don't take a step, you don't take an action, well, you're not going to get a resolution. You're not going to get a resolution. And I think that's an important thing to realize, okay? It's important to realize. So number 14, guys, is clarity reduces hesitation. Understanding removes internal friction. When we understand, the friction is gone. Number 15, decisions remove uncertainty. Choosing eliminates mental conflict. Choosing eliminates the mental conflict. You know, somebody said to me, John, well, what if you don't choose? Well, I got news for you. You're actually choosing. If you don't choose, you are still choosing. That's very wild, if you ask me. Very, very wild. You're still choosing when you don't choose. When you don't decide, you're actually still making a decision. You know, no communication, guys, is communication. I'm not sure if you knew that. No communication is communication. Yeah. Movement creates feedback. Actions produce real-world information. And number 17, feedback pulls confidence. Results reinforce belief in the progress that we are currently making. It's the ROI, guys. It's the whole thing of, we'll see what we're doing, and then we'll make a change. So feedback builds the confidence. Results reinforces the belief in the progress. So feedback gets us to, get more confidence to do something, but then the results we have reinforce the belief in the progress. So let's say you're studying for a test, okay? And the feedback you're getting from studying is building your confidence that you are understanding this. But the results of what you studied for or the grade, that reinforces the belief in the progress you've already made. Number 18, guys, confidence speeds action. Repetition strengthens execution ability. Whoa, that's very high, guys. Very high. Action reduces fear. Exposure weakens imagined risk. Exposure weakens imagined risk. Sometimes we make the situation worse than what it really is, right? We create this cynical umbrella. And it's like the more we think about that negativeness, the more that becomes the reality. I mean, that's just the truth, guys. That's no magic. What we think about, we bring about. Wherever our thoughts go in our head, that is where the energy is going to flow. Nowhere else. That's where the energy is going to flow. Like I said, nowhere else. Yeah, that's important, guys. Definitely important. Definitely important. And as I said, number 18 is confidence speeding action. The repetition strengthens the execution ability. Think about that for a moment. So when you're confident about something, you can move to it faster. Number 19, action reduces fear. What's fear? False evidence appearing real. Exposure weakens imagined risk. That's what it is. It's imagined. Number 20, guys, delay increases doubt. Delay increases doubt. Inactivity magnifies uncertainty over time. Doubt creates stagnation. Hesitation becomes a repeating cycle. It becomes a repeating cycle. One that you're like, where the heck did this come from? How did this even transpire? Right? How and when and where? I think that's an important thing to, to understand that very much, because see, if you don't understand it, then you're probably going to be like, why is this happening to me? Right? Why is this happening to me? It's hard to understand. Right? Number 20, delay increases the doubt. As I said, inactivity magnifies it and the uncertainty that we have over time. So 21 is doubt creates stagnation. Hesitation becomes a repeating cycle. And I say this again to you because when a doubt comes in your head, it repeats. You probably say to me, why am I saying this again? The first time I said these first three sentences, you probably didn't hear them and they probably went over your head. So these three I want to say again on purpose. Yeah. And I'm repeating this again. Stagnation reinforces delay. Inactivity trains the mind to remain inactive. That's the new part. Inactivity trains the mind to remain inactive. Not because it wants to, but because it's growing into a pattern. Number 23, guys, movement breaks the cycle. Even small actions disrupt any amount of inertia. Any amount of inertia, not a small amount, but any amount of inertia. Number 24, guys, small action starts momentum. Initiation matters more than the scale, number 24. So if you initiate and you do something consistently, guess what? You're going to earn the respect of others. You're going to move further on your path to your success. And you're going to move away from hesitation, stagnation. That's important, guys. That's important. That small action makes a difference. Number 25, guys, momentum reduces thinking. And flow replaces hesitation. If you're trying to get somewhere and you're like, I don't know how to get started, the best thing to do is to just start. You might not be right, but hey, you're going to start. And that's better than a lot of other people. If you could take the consistent action, you want to learn a language every day, put in 20 or 30 minutes every single day. You'll learn a language in a year or two, right? But most people don't realize, or most people, I should say, don't want to make the commitment. They don't want to make the commitment. Not because they can't, but because the brain and subconscious puts other thoughts like, this is a waste of time. I'm never going to get anywhere. What if I don't learn? All these, ridiculous things. Ridiculous things. Number 26, guys. Progress builds clarity. Understanding it accelerates the decision making. Understanding it accelerates the decision making process. Understanding. Knowing how something operates. Knowing how something will go. An expectation. I remember when I was younger and I always wanted to go on a ride. And my dad would always say, John, you really should watch the ride first and make sure you like it before you just get on, because you might not know what it's actually doing if you've never seen operation. And that was a very good point, because at that time I didn't really want to go on stuff that went upside down, and I wasn't really doing roller coasters back then. But I can tell you that piece of advice has stayed with me my entire life. And that is that you need to sometimes observe something in its full capacity, its full operating sense. All right. Number 27, clarity drives the speed. Understanding it accelerates it. So what I mean by this is that when you start to get clarity about something, when you start to know the way to do something, you get better and you get faster at it. Number 28, guys. Number 28. Speed creates results. Consistent action compounds the outcomes. So we know that speed creates better results from learning, but it compounds the outcomes that we can have. That's pretty cool. Okay. Number 29, results reduce hesitation. Proof replaces uncertainty. Results reduce hesitation, and proof replaces uncertainty. Anytime you have proof, everybody's like, oh, yeah, of course, that's the right way to do it. At number 30, guys, action resets everything. Movement changes direction entirely the moment that you decide to act. The moment you decide to act, action changes everything. Everything. Action changes everything. Action changes everything. And that everything is something that you might be saying, well, gee, that's not me. Sure, it can be. People see other people, they're like, you know what? That's not me. I can never do that. And like I said, what Einstein said a long time ago, if you believe you can't, you're right. And if you believe you can, guess what, ladies and gentlemen, you are also right. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is the shift. Most people will miss this. It's like a blink of an eye. They believe that they need clarity before they can take action. Clarity is good, but don't think you need to sit home all day or sit on the bench and not play the game because you're not clear about what to do. You can still take action and you can learn from it. There was a guy's shirt that I saw about a week ago at school, and it said, don't let the fear, I was talking about baseball, don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. Let me say that again. Don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. Don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. We could translate that into life. Don't let the fear of taking a risk keep you out of the opportunity space. You don't let risks give you a fear that you should never take a risk, right? I think that's a very important thing. And so action is the key. You do not need to think your way into progress. You move your way into understanding. And once movement begins, everything just changes. Thinking becomes clear, decisions become faster, fear becomes smaller or completely eliminated, directions become visible. So the real question, ladies and gentlemen, is not what should I do, which a lot of you are probably asking. The real question is, what can I do right now? So, again, not what should I do, but what can I do right now? Because that answer is where momentum begins. And momentum is what changes direction. For more insights, ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to visit believemeachieve.com. You know why? Because your life does not change when thinking increases, it changes when movement begins. And you may be thinking right now, I've got a challenge and I've got to get through it. Okay. So, what can you do right now to take a step toward that direction? Well, I can't do a lot of things. I didn't ask you what you can't do. I asked you what's one step you can do. Let me see if I can give you an example. Maybe you want to learn to cook desserts. Okay. And maybe you don't know the foggiest thing about mise en place or how to measure anything like that. But what you do know is temperature. You know temperature is important. You know how to set your oven and things like that. So work with what you do know and build upon that. Build upon that. I think when we understand these things and we get clear about what's going on in our life, and we recognize that your life does not change when thinking increases, it only changes when movement begins. And that's when we get intentional about our life and our desire to be successful. Ladies and gentlemen, I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. Please be sure to check out believemeachieve.com. Don't forget to check out the website and all the great stuff like the new JCM Academy, which you can find off of the link tree. I hope you have a great rest of your day or evening. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you want change, you have to start moving. Have a good one, everyone, and be well.